It seems that nearly every small town has one place you're always told to avoid. Maybe it's an out-of-commission water tower, or an old power plant that's blocked off with a large fence that your parents warned you time and time again never to go anywhere near. But of course, the words caution, danger of death, or private property often seem like less a warning and more like a challenge to a bored kid living in a small town. In this instance, the place beyond the chain link fence you're not supposed to cross is a local radio station, a towering transmitter that looks like a huge needle pointed at the sky. On those long walks home from school, you were always tempted to climb over the fence just to get a closer look at the tower. If you were quick enough, you could dash back over and no one would ever know. Then one day you throw caution to the wind and ignore all the warnings. Because what's life without a little bit of adventure? You cross the metal fence to go and investigate the radio tower, but somehow the closer you step, the further away it seems to be. You walk and walk, but still never get closer. How much time has passed? Has it been hours, days, even months? Before you know it, you've spent 10 long years walking in circles trying every which way just to visit the tower. As it turns out, you probably should have paid attention to all the warning signs. Contained behind a perimeter fence is SCP-084, or also as it is known among Foundation staff, the Static Tower. Exactly what is transmitted from SCP-084 is intriguing, but also highly disturbing. Researchers working for the SCP Foundation have found that they are unable to properly examine the Static Tower, as anyone that gets within a 100-meter radius of SCP-084 suffers from various anomalous effects. It seems that SCP-084 is able to transmit a radio frequency, or possibly even a form of radiation of unknown origin. This emission appears to have an adverse effect on the space and time of the local area. This distortion has a limited radius, only reaching an active area that surrounds the static tower in a dome shape. Anything contained within this dome will both witness and experience the alterations that SCP-084 causes. The most commonly occurring of SCP-084's different effects is that the tower appears to teleport at random intervals, able to disappear from one location and reappear at another. Sometimes the static tower will even appear to materialize in several locations at once, not staying quite as static as its nickname would suggest. It does seem to be limited to the field it was discovered in, but wherever in that space SCP-084 jumps to, the dome-shaped active area around it will also move, keeping the tower at its center. Due to the space and time warping effects it emits, the static tower is impossible to reach, either on foot or through the use of any type of vehicle. Any attempts to get close enough to examine the tower have ended the same. The space within the surrounding dome appears to be unlimited, meaning that SCP-084 stays at a relative distance, as if it was always stuck on the horizon. No matter how long someone travels towards it, days, weeks, months, or even years, the static tower will remain out of reach. One man that the Foundation encountered within SCP-084's area of effect had apparently been trying for 6 years to reach the tower, traveling miles upon miles but never getting any closer. Additionally, the tower cannot be destroyed. The Foundation has already attempted a number of conventional methods of destruction, but these have similarly never been able to reach SCP-084. Even if a projectile is launched from outside the active area dome that surrounds the tower, it will never hit its intended target. The static tower can warp nearby space around it, almost in self-defense. Distances can randomly extend or contract, causing the tower and its 2 small outbuildings to suddenly teleport away in order to avoid incoming damage. During the Foundation's lengthy and ongoing observation of the static tower, a vast number of anomalous occurrences have taken place. Among those documented by the SCP Foundation's sentries and researchers is the bizarre behavior of any animals spotted nearby. Very few can actually be found within the active area dome, and any seen beyond the dome's threshold appears to instinctively know to avoid it. Any animals that do happen to appear within the area surrounding SCP-084 will exhibit a very strange behavior. Their movements shudder or repeat in loops like a GIF. These abnormalities suggest that they are not real animals, but merely strange copies with only a limited, repetitive pattern of movement that ends when they disappear after 3 to 4 hours. Speech also seems to be affected when someone is within the dome, with a number of reports describing vocal communication being muffled when inside the area around the static tower. Other times when people stand apart, their voices begin to echo, with words usually being heard several seconds after they are uttered by the speaker, or even after they have stopped speaking altogether. Within the active area dome around the static tower, the local environment also seems to be affected by the tower's anomalous properties. Rain, snow, hail, or sudden heat waves will occur seemingly at random, and usually the weather within the dome is completely different to that outside. The sky will flicker and blur between different states as well, shifting from day to night or clear to cloudy at a moment's notice. Additionally, no damage can be done to the environment around SCP-084. Even digging up the ground will cause the Earth to reset itself. Situated near the field where SCP-084 can be found is a small township. However, this location is only visible to anyone that finds themselves within the active dome around SCP-084. It has been speculated that this town was part of the local area and may have existed before the static tower first manifested, but that it has since become subjected to the tower's distortion of reality. According to further investigations, the town has an unchanging population. Only 343 people reside there, no more and no less. It appears that new births are impossible and cannot occur within the town. In much the same spirit, nobody living there can die. Any attempts at homicide result in dead persons flickering before being returned to life seconds after dying. There have also been reports from this town of events reversing, almost as if time rewinds. This has most notably occurred when any town resident suffers a fatal accident or receives an extreme wound of some kind. When this happens, the affected individual will be able to witness their injury visibly freeze and then reverse itself. Cuts close, and bones reset all on their own. People within the dome, like the residents of the nearby town, will sometimes exhibit spontaneous blurring, their arms, legs, or head shuddering violently at impossible speeds. Despite this being physically impossible without injury, any subject seen blurring usually remains unaware of this and feels no pain from the sudden gyration. Much like the animals within the dome, human beings will also get stuck in isolated time loops, repeating simple actions without being able to control themselves. Someone might freeze after walking through a door, flickering out of existence for a split second, only to appear at their original starting point and walk through the same door again. According to the findings of the Foundation researchers, the town residents living within the vicinity of SCP-084 no longer have basic human needs. They don't get hungry or starve, they cannot be dehydrated, and don't even sleep thanks to being trapped within the static tower's area of effect. At random moments, townsfolk will be able to phase through solid matter, walking through walls or phasing through floors. This effect seems to last for brief periods of time, but can often have catastrophic results. Any passing through a surface or object when this period ends will often end up stuck until the effect reoccurs. Being unable to die, this does not kill these individuals, and instead they end up painfully fused with solid matter. One person even found themselves trapped in a wall from the waist down for 2 whole years. Long-term exposure to SCP-084 and its various anomalous effects have caused the 343 residents of the nearby town untold amounts of harm and distress. One can only dread to think of their collective psychological state, having to live life in an undetectable bubble, getting stuck in time loops, repeating mundane actions over and over again, phasing through surfaces only to find themselves stuck in place. These unlucky souls have no means of reprieve or means of escape. All information regarding SCP-084 has to be documented on paper, as electronic devices such as cameras, phones, computers are unable to properly function and record while inside the static tower's area of effect. Any audio or video playback devices, such as radios or camcorders, often detect bizarre and unsettling transmissions. It is unknown if these originate from the tower itself though, or are just the result of using electronics within the active area surrounding it. The dome that engulfs this town, with SCP-084 at its center, has left the area completely isolated from the world. It is because of this that there is little the SCP Foundation can do to contain the static tower, other than to wait and watch. Personnel are instructed not to attempt any interaction with SCP-084, and instead the tower has been placed under round-the-clock surveillance to monitor any changes and observe any anomalous effects it may cause. The Foundation hopes to divert any unwanted civilian attention away from the area. There are no roads or publicly accessible routes leading to SCP-084 or the nearby town, and Foundation security will detain anyone that somehow finds their way headed towards the static tower. Only with full permission of 2 O5 Council members are researchers and other Foundation personnel permitted to enter the dome. Sentry teams provide additional security and are stationed nearby within the tower's line of sight. These units have to be near enough to see the tower with their own eyes, as even viewing SCP-084 through binoculars or telescopes makes the tower appear fuzzy and out of focus. All electronic devices, including radios, televisions, cell phones, video or photo cameras, global positioning systems, are banned from the vicinity of SCP-084. This is done in hopes of avoiding any unwelcome interference from the tower's reality warping frequency. Any civilian in the nearby area carrying any of these devices or attempting to record SCP-084 by any means will have their electronics confiscated and their recordings destroyed. Given that no one can get close enough or even examine it from a distance with binoculars or other implements, there exists no detailed description of what's inside SCP-084. All that is known about its physical makeup is what can be seen from a distance, that it is a solitary radio tower. The SCP Foundation has, as of yet, also been unable to determine the exact nature of what is being transmitted by SCP-084. Does the static tower send out a frequency so powerful that it can warp space and time? And if so, is the tower itself sentient, or was it designed by someone for exactly this purpose? Whatever the answer is, we would recommend keeping your distance from this hazardous site. Perhaps it would be best to abide by the warning signs for the time being. After all, you'd hate to wander too far and not be able to make your way back. Now check out SCP-823 Carnival of Horrors and SCP-1730 What Happened to Site-13 the full story compilation for more diabolical anomalous locations from SCP Explained.